Well, better late than never, right? In the Passing Light of Day by Pain of Salvation. So, Pain of Salvation is kind of a quintessential metal band within the progressive rock spectrum. They really got their start in the late 90s, even though they've really been a band arguably since the mid 80s. I do need to preface that I've never really been a big fan of Pain of Salvation. I've always known of them, and I've always known of Daniel's kind of work with other bands. Like I've heard him with the Flower Kings and I've heard him with Transatlantic. So I knew the style, but I never really had a chance to really dive in. A couple of years ago, I was able to pick up The Perfect Element Part 1 as well as Remedy Lane and really enjoyed these, but not to the extent that I feel a lot of other people do. What I do love about these guys is their energy and their use of complex time signatures and polyrhythms within their makeup of songs. And this was definitely felt within The Perfect Element as well as within Remedy Lane. And so, since those two albums, I really haven't heard too much else from them. I am aware of their discography, but I just never really had the chance to dive in and really digest some of their music. The musicianship and talent of these guys is just so phenomenal, and so I have to give it praise even if I'm not a big fan of theirs. Now, luckily, we come to their latest effort of In the Passing Light of Day, and I can definitely say that I am now officially a big fan of this band and their musical stylings. The one thing that I love of Pain of Salvation that I don't really see a lot, especially within the progressive rock scene, is the poetry of the lyrics. And this is definitely attributed to Daniel's presence on this album, and I feel like this was definitely felt within past albums as well. It's just different allegories and symbolisms within this. The one that keeps coming up on this album is the concept of broken. It's better left broken than put on a shelf, or I feel broken inside. Something that was once whole that now no longer is. I know within here, the whole album is kind of centered around Daniel's experience with near death. He hasn't released any real new music within the past 6 years, and a lot of that has been due to health problems, so a lot of the reflection that he's had since then is definitely found within this, especially being kind of bookmarked between almost like a hospital waiting room and having that background noise come in every few songs. And so that is kind of like the stage on this. So coming into some of the actual specific songs on this album, On a Tuesday, the one that opens up, it definitely is a highlight. Now this song is around 10 minutes long, and so where this song goes and ebbs and flows, the whole album itself is rather dark and heavy, but this one really kind of captures that. And what I particularly enjoy about this track isn't necessarily how dark it is, but how light it is at times, especially with the outro. There is a point on the midsection of the song that's really dark and really getting into it, but it's after we've come through that we come into a lighter area where we realize that life kind of goes on, and I think that's more of like the stages of realizing that you're going to die. I feel like that presentation on this song is just fantastic. Now, unfortunately, the next three songs, the second song, the third song, and the fourth song, the second song being The Tongue of God, these songs, I don't know, I don't really connect too much with them. I know that they're darker and they're definitely that kind of guttural, raw emotion. I like some of the similes and some of the, metaphors. The Tongue of God, I like that aspect. You're centered kind of like around the mouth area, so you want to spit it out, that tongue, the language about it. Meaningless, I really like the use of sounds that are on this track, and the Silent Gold is definitely the mellowest track on the album, and being one of the shorter tracks, it is actually the shortest track on the album. I don't know, these three songs never really hit me too much. Now, it is within the fifth song of Full Throttle Tribe. This one is where it starts to pick up a little bit. I do like the use of their polyrhythms, and I find unlike say like the technical metal or say gent or just really chaotic metal where they're using the polyrhythms, here the polyrhythms aren't as chaotic or just crazy. they make sense in the fact that a layman man can like sit down, listen to this and be like, yeah, there are two separate rhythms going on within this, but it still makes sense. And I like when they align and shift and bleed. And this is found definitely within the Full Throttle tribe. And again, much like the first song, it is a little bit of a lengthier one, so I do like where it ebbs and flows. I love where it kind of breaks down and becomes really quiet at times, but then just smacks you in the face with raw brutality. But actually, it's the second half of this album, starting off with Reasons, that it really, really picks up for me. Like, this is where the first half I was kind of, checking in and out on the music. I wasn't quite as engaged, it didn't quite hit me, but coming into the second half with Reasons, this is where it really, really hits into high gear, and I love that brutality that the band is able to capture within this. Like, you can just feel the anger within this, just all those different things that are being spouted out, and the lyrics are blending so well with the brutality of the music. It is meshed very, very well together. The seventh song of Angels of Broken Things, this is definitely where that metaphor of broken stuff kind of, at least for me, came from. And then when I went back and re-listened to the album, I could hear it all throughout. I love the use of, it almost sounds like a didgeridoo that's providing a background sound and really laying the foundation of this song. Because it's that's providing kind of the meat on the bones of this song, provides a really great atmosphere to the overall presence. The ending part of this Angel of Broken Things has one of the greatest guitar pieces that I've heard, at least from this band. I know that they've done a lot of great stuff, but there was just something about the guitar work where it's so crisp and clear and just so like on the nose, in contrast with just how brutal everything else was. I think that dance really provided some great stuff. But hands down, my favorite track on this entire album is The Taming of a Beast. This one like connected deep with me as I'm listening to it, and I fell in love with it. And this is one of those few tracks where I kind of stopped listening to the album and just kept hitting repeat on this song. And I think part of the reason is the build that it has. It starts off very soft and very dark as well, and it just slowly builds until we get to like this grand crescendo near the end, and it's just very overpowering and very overwhelming. Like, this song gets me like right there, and it's one of those things that's really hard to describe outside of the fact that it connected with me very, very well. The second last song, the ninth track of If This Is the End, is a really interesting kind of almost finale. Like, if they had stopped the album on this song, I think it would have been complete, and I think it would have been great. I like that raw energy. I love where it's able to become quiet all of a sudden and then just hit you. And a lot of other songs have already done this, but I feel like this was a great bow on it. And then finally, the bow, as we shall say, within this album is the title track, The Passing Light of Day, the Goliath of the 15-minute track to close this off. I love this track. I really love this track. I love how it really takes its time to build, and I feel like this is the highlight. It might not be my favorite song, but I can definitely say it is the highlight of the album because it took so much time to really build it up and really shape it. When we get into that middle piece and we feel the rage that had been building inside, once we get to that big crescendo, it's just an expression of all those feelings that were being pent up within, I believe, those 6 years. And so having that being that big gushing of emotion was just, it's overwhelming, and it is a fantastic way to end the album. So overall, even though this isn't necessarily my favorite type of metal, I definitely connected with this album. If this is how 2017 is going to be, I am all for it, and I am really excited. This is definitely a win for Pain of Salvation. I love this album, and I would definitely have to say you would have to pick this up. This is one that you have to pick up, and it has to be in your collection because it is just a fantastic treat if you are into that kind of metal. So that's about it. What did you guys think of The Passing Light of Day by Pain of Salvation. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, let me know your own thoughts by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.